The storm above Velron grew worse with every passing hour. The sky looked alive, burning with electric clouds and dark rivers of light that twisted in anger. Inside the royal palace, the walls shook, and every beam of crystal groaned under the weight of the planet's energy. Ethan Cole stood at the high window beside Queen Serathis, watching the storm swallow the horizon. He had never seen anything like it. It was not just weather. It was power itself out of balance, a living force that was tearing the planet apart. Lightning struck the palace shields again and again, each impact sending a hum through the air. Ethan turned to the Queen. "The stabilizer can't hold forever," he said. "Your daughter's core will stay stable for a while, but the planet's storm will eventually destroy it again." Queen Serathis kept her eyes on the sky. "Then we stop the storm," she said. Ethan nodded slowly. "The problem is up there. Your readings show the source in orbit. That's where the human mining ships are." "You said they belong to your kind," the Queen said, her voice calm but cold. "They were once part of the company I worked for," Ethan admitted. "If they're still running those drills, they're drawing energy straight from your planet's crust. The extraction beams must be feeding the storm." The Queen turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Can you stop them?" "I can try," Ethan said. "But I'll need to get up there first." The Queen was silent for a moment, then called one of her guards. "Prepare a skycraft," she commanded. The guard bowed and left. Then she looked at Ethan again. "You will not go alone. I will guide you through the energy fields. You are brave human, but you do not know our storms." Ethan smiled faintly. "I'll take all the help I can get." They moved through the glowing halls toward the launch bay. Every step they took, the palace trembled slightly beneath their feet. Ethan could hear the distant thunder echo through the crystalline structure. The Queen's guards opened a massive door, revealing a sleek craft shaped like a teardrop of glass. Its engines pulsed with soft blue light, steady but alive. Ethan stopped to look back once more toward the medical chamber. Through the transparent wall, he could see Princess Lyra lying still, her glow soft and calm. For a moment, he thought she looked peaceful. He clenched his hands, then turned back to the ship. "Let's finish this," he whispered. The Queen joined him in the cockpit. The controls were strange but elegant, rings of light that changed color when touched. Ethan sat beside her, fastening a safety harness that barely fit his size. The Queen placed her hand on the central sphere and the ship came alive. The floor hummed and light streamed beneath their feet. Without a sound, the skycraft lifted into the air and shot upward through the storm clouds. The view outside turned wild. Streams of lightning arched past the craft, glowing rivers of energy twisting through the clouds. The Queen controlled the ship with effortless grace, guiding it through the violent storm. Ethan could feel the vibration in his bones. "Your world is powerful," he said over the noise. "It's like it's alive." "It is," the Queen replied. "Velron breathes through energy. The storms are part of its heart. When your machines cut into it, they wounded the planet itself." Ethan felt a deep sadness. "We never meant to hurt it. Some people just see power and forget it can bleed." The Queen looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. "Perhaps that is why you are different from them." The ship broke through the last layer of clouds and the blackness of space opened before them. Above the planet hung the mining ships, 3 massive machines like dark blades cutting across the light. Their engines pulsed red, feeding energy beams down toward the planet's surface. "There," Ethan said, pointing. "That's where it's coming from." The Queen frowned. "How will you stop them?" "I need to get inside one of them," Ethan said. "If I can overload their fusion cores, it will stop the extraction. But it will be dangerous." "You would go alone?" she asked. Ethan smiled. "You already risked your life for your daughter. I can do no less." The Queen watched him for a moment, then placed a hand on the ship's control sphere. "Then I will bring you as close as I can." The craft shot forward through the thin veil of space. Alarms on the mining ships activated as they approached. Defensive drones detached from the ships, forming lines of red lights that moved toward them. The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Hold on." She twisted her hand through the light rings and the ship spun sharply. Beams of red energy shot past them, missing by inches. The Queen maneuvered the ship with impossible precision, weaving between the drones as Ethan held onto the seat. One of the drones clipped their wing, and the ship jolted. Sparks of light scattered across the interior. "We can't take much more of that," Ethan shouted. "Then go," she commanded. "Now, human." Ethan grabbed his small pack and ran toward the rear hatch. The Queen pressed a control and the door opened to the stars. For a second, he felt the cold of space rush against him. He looked back at the Queen. "Keep her safe," he said. "You have my word," she replied. Then Ethan jumped. His suit's thrusters flared, propelling him toward the nearest mining ship. He landed hard against the outer hull, magnetic boots locking him in place. The metal beneath him was hot, vibrating with energy. He climbed toward the access port and connected his wrist console. The door hissed open and he slipped inside. The corridors were dark and cold, lit only by the red glow of warning lights. The sound of machinery echoed everywhere, deep mechanical breaths. Ethan moved quietly through the halls until he reached the control core. A giant beam of light pulsed through the room, extending from floor to ceiling. It was the extraction conduit, the link that connected directly to the planet's surface. Ethan worked fast. He pulled open a panel and began rerouting the energy flow. His hands moved quickly, adjusting cables, connecting converters he had built from Valari tech. Sweat ran down his face inside the helmet. The readings on his screen started to change, the beam's intensity dropping slightly. Outside, the Queen's ship dodged another wave of drones. She watched the mining beam flicker and smiled faintly. "He is doing it," she whispered. But her smile faded as the other two ships redirected their power toward the damaged one. Their combined energy surged toward Ethan's location. Ethan saw the readings spike. His eyes widened. Oh no. He tried to cut the circuit, but the energy surged too fast. The entire room glowed with white light. "System overload in progress," his console warned. "Manual stabilization required." "Manual?" Ethan muttered. "Of course it is." He ran toward the central conduit. A large panel at its base pulsed with red light. If he could reroute the overload through his suit's core, he might stop the chain reaction before it destroyed the ship and the planet below. It was a terrible idea, but he had no time for anything else. He opened the panel and pressed his hand against the live surface. The energy shot through his body instantly. It burned like fire, but he didn't let go. He forced the power through his suit, redirecting it into the stabilizer device on his chest. The readings began to level. The beam outside dimmed, then vanished completely. From the Queen's ship, the storm on Velron began to weaken. The red lightning faded to blue, then gold. The swirling clouds slowed. The Queen's eyes widened in disbelief. He did it. But inside the mining ship, Ethan's systems were failing. His visor flashed warnings, his oxygen dropping fast. The lights around him dimmed as his power drained. He fell to his knees, breathing heavily. Through the static in his communicator, the Queen's voice broke through. "Ethan, respond. What is your status?" He smiled weakly. "Tell her. To live free," he whispered. The connection faded to silence. The Queen felt the signal vanish. Her ship floated silently among the now dark mining vessels. Below them, Velron began to heal. The glowing storms softened, spreading calm light over the planet's surface. In the palace, Princess Lyra's glow brightened, her energy core fully stable for the first time. The healers looked at each other in shock and joy. When the Queen returned to the palace, the people gathered to greet her. They saw the peace in the skies and bowed deeply. But she did not speak. She walked through the hall straight to her daughter's chamber. Lyra was awake, her light golden and strong. When she saw her mother, she smiled. "The pain is gone," she whispered. The Queen knelt beside her, tears of light falling. "Yes, my child. The human saved you." Lyra tilted her head. "Where is he?" The Queen could not answer. She looked up toward the ceiling, toward the stars beyond. Her silence said everything. The little princess reached out and took her mother's hand. "He'll come back," she said softly. "I can feel it." Weeks passed. Velron's skies returned to their natural glow. The storms became gentle winds of energy again. The Queen ordered that no human ship would ever be harmed near their system again. "One among them gave his life to save us," she said to her council. "We owe him peace." At the edge of the desert where Ethan had first crashed, a monument was built. It was simple, a figure carved from crystal, shaped like a man with one arm raised toward the sky. At its base, the Queen placed a single stone inscribed in both human and Valari script. He gave light to those who had lost it. One night, Queen Serathis and Princess Lyra stood before the monument. The stars above shimmered brighter than usual. Lyra looked up suddenly and gasped. "Mother, look." Far above among the stars, a faint light's beacon blinking weakly. The Queen stared, her eyes wide. It can't be. The desert of Velron stretched endlessly under a silver sky. The sand shimmered with light like tiny stars scattered across the ground. A single human ship lay broken in the middle of that glowing sea, its hull cracked and burning faintly from entry. Inside it, Ethan Cole woke up to the sound of his life support alarm. His body ached, his head felt heavy, but his training told him one thing: he was alive. He pushed himself up and looked out through the cracked viewport. The world outside was bright, almost painfully so. Strange clouds moved in slow patterns, glowing with electric blue veins. His hands moved automatically, checking his gear, switching on the emergency beacon. The small device blinked red and green, sending out a repeating signal into the sky. He sighed. Come on, someone's got to hear that. Hours passed. The horizon stayed empty. But the wind began to hum. The sound was not natural, and it was sharp and rhythmic. Ethan frowned and stepped outside with his pulse pistol ready. From the distance, glowing figures approached. They were tall, taller than any human, and their bodies were made of crystalline light. The heat shimmer made them seem almost like ghosts. He raised his hands slowly. I'm not here to fight, he said. They didn't answer. The figures surrounded him, moving with precise formation. One of them touched a device at its arm, and a sudden pulse of energy hit him. Everything went dark. When Ethan opened his eyes again, he was lying on a smooth floor made of black glass. The air smelled faintly like ozone. He blinked hard, trying to sit up. Around him, hundreds of glowing beings watched silently from raised seats that curved in a half circle. He realized he was in some kind of court. At the far end, a larger figure stood, taller, brighter, and wearing a crown made of silver light. The being's voice echoed through the hall, calm but powerful. You are human, she said. From the blue star system, Ethan swallowed. Yes, I didn't mean to crash here. My ship, the Queen raised a hand and he fell silent. Your kind has not set foot on Velron before. Why now? He tried to explain. A malfunction during an energy survey, his ship pulled off course by a gravity storm. But as he spoke, the Queen's expression remained unreadable. Her eyes, glowing like twin suns, stared straight through him. Around them, the other Velari murmured quietly. He could feel their distrust, their suspicion. Before he could say more, a sudden noise broke through the hall. A high-pitched alarm, then shouting. Ethan turned to see one of the royal guards rushing forward, kneeling before the Queen. Your Majesty, it is Princess Lyra. Her energy core is destabilizing again. The Queen froze. For a moment, her radiant form flickered like a candle. Then she turned sharply. Bring her to the chamber now. The hall emptied quickly. Ethan stood unsure until two guards grabbed him by the arms and pulled him along. Wait, where are you taking me? He demanded. But they said nothing. They dragged him through corridors that seemed alive, the walls pulsing softly with light. Finally, they entered a large room filled with machines that hummed with strange energy. In the center lay a small figure, another Velari but smaller, her glow faint and fading. She was trembling, light dimming at her edges. Several healers surrounded her, waving instruments over her body, but the monitors only screamed louder. The Queen stood beside her, her normally calm face twisted with worry. Stabilize the resonance field, she commanded. We are trying, Your Majesty, said one of the healers, panic in his tone. Her harmonic balance is collapsing faster than we can match. Ethan's eyes darted to the monitor beside the bed. The pattern on the screen, the energy waveform, looked familiar. He had seen something like that years ago, back when he worked with fusion cores on Earth. His instincts kicked in before his fear could stop him. That's not going to work, he said out loud. Everyone turned to him instantly, weapons raised. The Queen's voice was sharp. What do you mean, human? Ethan pointed to the monitor. You're trying to stabilize the core using a mirrored feedback loop. That just feeds the imbalance back into itself. You need a counter frequency, something to cancel it out, not amplify it. You claim to understand Velari energy systems? A healer scoffed. I don't know your systems, Ethan said quickly, but I know energy harmonics. That pattern there. It's identical to a human fusion overheat. The same kind of instability. I can help. The Queen's light flared dangerously bright. You could be lying. You could be here to harm us? Ethan looked directly at her, his voice steady. Then why would I risk saying anything? For a long moment, the room was silent except for the weak sound of the young princess struggling to breathe. Finally, the Queen's glow dimmed. She turned to her guards and said the words that made every Valari freeze. "Human, my daughter needs you." The guards lowered their weapons slowly. Ethan stepped forward, his heart racing. He moved beside the bed, studying the readings again. The symbols were strange, but the numbers and frequencies were close enough for him to understand the pattern. He began adjusting the machine dials, trying to balance the energy wave. The healers hesitated but followed his instructions. Slowly, the chaotic pattern on the screen began to calm. The princess's trembling eased. The color of her light deepened to a soft gold instead of white fire. The queen's hands, which had been clenched tight, finally relaxed. Ethan exhaled and stepped back. "That should hold her for now," he said quietly. "But it's temporary. You need a full recalibration or she'll collapse again." The queen looked at him for a long time, her voice quieter now. "You have bought her time. You will have what you need to fix her properly." "Guards escort him to the royal laboratory." Ethan nodded and followed. The lab was enormous. Walls lined with floating orbs, machines of crystal and metal. He had never seen technology so advanced and yet so natural. It was as if the building itself was alive. The queen joined him there soon after. "You said this condition is like something you have seen before," she said. "Explain." Ethan took a deep breath. "On Earth, we use energy cores for starships, small suns we build to travel the stars. Sometimes, when exposed to unstable radiation, they start to decay from inside. The same is happening to your daughter's core. But the cause," he hesitated. "It looks like it's coming from outside, but from orbit." The queen's expression hardened. "From the human mining ships." Ethan blinked. "You knew?" "We detected them months ago. They tore through one of our moons, searching for resources. We tried to warn them off, but they never answered." Her tone held pain and fury. "We believed they left. But if they are still there, their machines could be poisoning our planet's energy fields." Ethan felt a deep guilt settle in his chest. He had worked for that same mining company once. He knew what their machines did, how little they cared for the worlds they touched. "Then it's our fault," he said softly. "We did this." The queen turned away. "And now my daughter will die because of it." "No," Ethan said firmly. "Not if I can stop it." She looked back at him, searching his face for deception, but found only determination. Finally, she nodded. "Very well, human. You will have access to our archives and laboratories. But know this, if you betray us, there will be no mercy." "I understand," Ethan said. "Let me try." Days passed as Ethan worked. He studied the readings, compared them to his old data, and built small devices from spare parts the Valari provided. The queen visited often, sometimes in silence, sometimes to ask questions. He noticed the tiredness in her glow, the way her light dimmed whenever she looked at her daughter's chamber through the energy window. For all her power, she was still a mother afraid of losing her child. During one long night, she spoke quietly. "Why do you help us, human? You owe us nothing." Ethan looked up from his tools. "Because your daughter doesn't deserve to suffer for what my kind did. And because I'm an engineer, fixing things and making things right was what I do." The queen regarded him silently, then said, "You speak with heart. That is rare among those who wield power." For the first time, her tone was gentle. Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe we're not so different." Outside, the skies of Velron grew darker. The luminous clouds began swirling faster, glowing red and violet. The queen's advisors warned her that the planetary storms were intensifying, feeding off the corrupted energy fields. The palace shield started to flicker. Each time a storm wave hit, the halls trembled. Inside the lab, Ethan worked faster. "The interference is spreading," he muttered. "If the main grid collapses, your entire city could lose power, and your daughter won't last an hour." The queen moved closer. "What must we do?" "I need a stronger energy converter, something that can harmonize both human and Valari frequencies." "That is forbidden technology," said one of the advisors nearby. "It risks corrupting our entire network." "Then we have no choice," the queen said sharply. "Prepare the converter." The advisors hesitated, then bowed and left. Ethan met her gaze. "You're risking your world's power systems for this?" "She is my world," the queen said quietly. "Without her, there is nothing left to rule." As thunder rolled outside, Ethan felt the weight of her words. He worked through the night, attaching glowing cables, recalibrating circuits, and watching the readings shift toward stability. Every few hours, he checked the princess's condition remotely. Each time, her energy held steady but weaker. The storms outside roared louder. Bolts of energy flashed across the windows like streaks of living lightning. Finally, the converter,